So now I decided to post an old footage of myself getting injured deadlifting 225 in the middle of 2014. It was mostly caused by having tight hip flexors and bad shoulders from sitting down too much and not be able to loosen them up at that time. I did a lot of stretching for the hip flexors, but I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't get looser. But what I find strange is how I would do this deadlift like anyone else would. I got injured from this lift, and then yesterday I did a Zercher deadlift off the floor with a rounded back. Not completely rounded to the point that I put my lower back in the most vulnerable position. I rounded my back enough so I can tighten my abs and to reach the bar, and I rounded my shoulders as well to reach the bar. And another trainer saw me do this lift, and he was disgusted by how it looked like I was going to be hospitalized or paralyzed from doing this type of deadlift. The only thing I could explain so far is when I was taught the deadlift at that time, I was taught to arch my lower back while deadlifting, but I don't do that today. I keep a neutral lower back while deadlifting so I can maximize activation of abs and glutes. The major differences between the way I deadlift now versus 2014 is the neutral spine. And when I was in 2014, I used an arch back, while now I always use a neutral spine, or slightly rounded if I'm doing a Zercher deadlift. Back then when I deadlifted, I never thought about doing Valsalva maneuver. I was always taught, try to avoid it because it's very bad for blood pressure spikes. And I look at it now as I'd rather have a healthy spine, or I'd rather have a much stronger brace than have a damaged spine. A damaged spine, your heart's going to work harder. And other than doing Valsalva maneuver for bracing, I've also learned more about how to make the ab muscles harder during bracing versus 2014. Sometime last year, I was taught to really shut the pelvic floor muscles, or another way I look at it is if you really have to use the washroom really badly, you got to really contract the muscles as hard. So, like if you really have to take a piss, or if you really have to take a crap, you really got to shut the muscles as hard as possible, like you have no access to a toilet. And at the same time, you got to contract your ab muscles as hard as possible with a big breath into the belly. So that's the type of bracing technique I was taught. And it's a lot more powerful than just making your ab muscles hard without the breath in, or shutting the pelvic floor muscles. Another difference between 2014 and now was back then I had an office job, and it took me about an hour to get to work and another hour to get home by car. Now, my driving time is a lot shorter, and my job is more labor, so I'm not sitting down at work. Another major difference was back then, around that time, I would only work out 3-4 days a week. Now I work out every day, so I'm used to handling a lot of sudden stresses. I'm used to working out every day, and now I don't have to spend as much time warming up right before heavy sets. Back then, like in order for me to get a proper workout, I would have to spend a lot more time warming up just to get used to the working out, just to get the blood flowing and to not get injured.